It's a Gobpocalypse,
shouted the pink-haired elf.
A what?
I asked, turning my head over my shoulder to see her.
Gobpocalypse. You know, like an apocalypse.
She pressed, desperate for me to understand. A gobpocalypse? I asked, understanding dawning upon my face.
That's what I said.
Focus up, you two. Chat later.
Snapped the red-haired wizard behind me, next to Shayla, the elf.
They're coming,
she added, nodding forward. They were indeed coming. And they weren't just coming. They were bursting out from the tree line, rushing at full speed. A seething, chattering horde of green nightmares, bare feet pounding the earth, weapons flashing in the broken sunlight. The air reeked of sweat, leather, and something worse. Something wild and animalistic. They were nearly 30 strong. They were hideous. Green, mottled skin stretched over wiry, vicious frames. Grotesque features twisted into snarling grimaces. They were short, just over 3 feet tall, but moved with terrifying, chimpanzee-like speed and strength. Their cries pierced the air, a symphony of nightmare sounds, as the little beasts of terror surged toward us. And they were naked. Mostly. Some wore ragged vests or belts of bone, but most wore no loincloths. Nothing at all. I blushed as realization hit me, and could only imagine what the girls thought. I didn't have to imagine for long. Next to me, Angel, the stunning blonde knight in shining armor, murmured,
Oh my.
so faint and mortified it was almost a prayer. Her cheeks flushed pink as she locked her eyes firmly forward. Shayla, the shy, pink-haired elven priestess behind me, squeaked,
Ew!
and instinctively tried to shield her face with her hands, sneaking peeks between her fingers anyway.
They're just dongs. It's not that big of a deal.
Claire, the emerald-eyed wizard with fiery red hair and a daringly short dress, standing behind Angel and I next to Shayla, blurted out, trying her best to boost morale.
Kind of a big deal.
Why are they so big?
Shayla whined, her voice rising in pitch.
I mean, they're only like 3 feet high. How can they?
And they're freaking excited.
Angel added solemnly, with a nod. I wanted to be in any other conversation.
Stay focused. Don't get distracted.
Barked Claire, slicing through the chaos like a sword. Good advice, very good advice.
Do they attack with those things?
Shayla stammered, her eyes wide as she peeked again.
No, some have weapons, swords and such. See?
Angel replied as they came into better view.
If we're lucky, they may accidentally kill us.
Kill us? If we're lucky?
Shrieked Shayla. Claire cut in.
Nobody's getting killed. Be ready.
Claire went quiet. We all did for a heartbeat. I can't count how many times my characters have withstood a barrage of arrows or spears. Likewise, even more times I've hurled the same hail of death at my players when I was the game master. Nothing, however, could have prepared me for what it feels like to see 24 spears arcing through the air right toward you. My heart skipped, and I suddenly had to pee. 100 thoughts slammed through my brain all at once. Dodge left, dodge right, duck, pretend to be dead, roll dramatically like in the movies. What if I dodged straight into one? Paralysis by overthinking was real. I was living proof. I was certain one was headed directly for my face when, bam! At 10 feet away, every last spear slammed into Claire's invisible shield wall with a crackling shockwave. A shimmering, translucent field in front of us caught them mid-flight, deflecting their killing force harmlessly to the sides. I let out a sigh at the same time as Angel next to me, and we shared a quick glance. I had not even realized I had been holding my breath. Thrown attacks, I remembered in a daze. Ranged attacks, such as thrown attacks, would be deflected. Claire's magic had handicapped their spear attacks, and the results had looked even cooler than I ever could have imagined. But the goblins weren't slowing down. Not even close. And Claire wasn't done yet either. The goblins were halfway across the beach, a tidal wave of ugly green bodies screaming toward us. I heard the sharp, rhythmic chant and the quick double clap of her hands. Claire was spell-doubling. Angel beside me was practically vibrating with anticipation, her sword trembling in her grip. Claire's lightning strike went off. Doubled. Twin arcs of pure white lightning ripped the air apart, streaking out between Angel and me with a deafening roar. The world went blinding white for half a heartbeat. The sand hissed and blackened where the twin bolts carved their paths. The goblins shrieked in pain and terror, clutching at smoking limbs and blackened flesh. 6 on the left fell instantly, twitching in the sand. 5 more on the right collapsed in scorched heaps. At least another 4 staggered backward as they were struck by the second arc, barely upright, severe burns marking their twisted bodies. The survivors faltered for the first time, their charge stumbling.
Countercharge!
Came Claire's command, the true knight's battle cry. Her voice rang out, iron and fire and fury. The call triggered something primal in our knight. Angel roared, a pure, fearless shout from the core of her being, and hurled herself forward like a silver comet. The first goblin barely had time to blink before her blade split him cleanly down the middle. The second only managed a half squeal before he too fell at her feet, lifeless. Angel was on fire. Her sword pumped and danced, slashing faster than I would have thought possible. My own roar came a second later. It sounded less like a majestic battle cry and more like a startled house cat. Not my finest hour. But I wasn't useless. Charging right behind Angel, I barreled into the wavering goblins. I managed to finish off one of the poor wretches she had kicked aside in her rush, swinging my sword hard enough to knock him flat. His death barely had time to register on me before I had another one to my right. This goblin had been injured by the lightning, but was still lethal, half of his green body covered in blistered and charred skin. He reeked of body odor and smelled like burned hair. I almost retched as he jammed his spear forward, growling and whining. I deflected his spear with my sword fairly easily, surprisingly so. His momentum started to carry him past, and on instinct, my left hand came around behind and plunged my dirk deeply into his back as he went by, finding a vital location to bury itself and ending his days. I was shocked at my own competence, but still hustled to keep up with the whirlwind of death that was Angel. Shayla and Claire were close behind us, surging forward into the heart of the panicked horde. Shayla's face was pale but determined, her staff gripped tightly in both hands as she followed into the center of the fray. We met them head on, the clash of steel, magic, and shrieking goblins filling the beach with chaos. The battle had truly begun. We had downed more than half of them in our first surge. We had good momentum. For a few shining moments, it almost felt like we might actually win. Then our advance started to slow. A goblin rolled past my left, dodging under my blade to end up behind me.
I got him!
Shayla cried out, stepping up to the challenge. I had to trust my back to Shayla. Now I really needed to pee. I heard Shayla scream out behind me a heartbeat later. I risked a glance back to see she had blocked the goblin's strike with her staff, but was nearly knocked down from the force.
No, you don't, but I do!
Claire chimed, waving her free hand at the goblin, pressing Shayla and saying,
Levitas!
Up he went. For a split second, the goblins facing me watched him rise. I shouldn't have, but I glanced over my shoulder and did as well. Claire had levitated the little fiend. He wasn't rocketing up, like gravity had reversed. He was drifting up slowly, like a helium balloon released by some child. Levitation wasn't a spell typically used on an opponent in combat, and the goblin had a bewildered look on its face as it lazily sailed upward. It even fumbled and dropped its short sword. The second I turned my head back to the other 2 goblins, it was on again. Angel dropped another goblin with a clean downward slash, and another one of the burned survivors from Claire's lightning strike tried to flank her between us. I cut him down with a quick stab to his side, feeling the blade sink through flesh and gristle with an ugly, wet resistance. It felt strange. The strikes came naturally, as if this body knew how to fight even if my mind didn't. I wasn't a warrior. I was a bard. Bards have some fighting skills, and I was higher level than the rest, so I could keep up. But I myself had never fought for my life before, and yet, the motions flowed instinctively. What didn't feel natural was cutting into something alive. I didn't like it. Not one bit. The goblins were hideous, monstrous, but still living creatures, and slicing into them made my stomach twist in ways I hadn't expected. Angel, on the other hand, didn't seem to have that problem. She faced 3 goblins now, her sword flashing as she parried, ducked, and struck back, without a flicker of hesitation. She moved like the idea of mercy had never even crossed her mind. Pure righteous fury driving every swing. I almost envied her for it.
A knife make life a sumo!
One of the 2 snarling beasts howled at her as it swung wide with its rusted dagger. They talk? I didn't realize they would talk,
Rigo breed blonde wench first!
cried the one next to it, a one-eyed goblin with an empty socket and an above-average looking longsword. Angel was less shocked than I was, retorting instantly.
Breed me with what?
Her blade arched down towards his exposed genitals, and his eyes went wide as his sword moved to block the strike. It was a feint. Her blade swiped back up quickly and opened his throat, sending him staggering backwards.
Say it again, Rigo.
She mocked as he fell lifeless. Damn, Angel! Another was stepping to take his place, but Angel continued to deflect their attacks seamlessly. She had picked up the fallen goblin's longsword and was now fighting two-handed. Of course she was. I had 2 on me as well, and my momentary distraction watching Angel fight cost me dearly. One of the goblins slipped past my guard and slashed deep into my leg. Pain lanced up my side like fire. I stumbled, gasping, blood already soaking into my boot. Holy crap, that hurt! Was this how real injuries felt? Because it sucked. I knew he hadn't hit an artery, the cut wasn't spurting, but it still hurt like a bitch. I let out a startled, high-pitched yelp that could only be described as a girlish squeal.
Sir James!
Angel cried out in alarm. Could I please have squealed a little less like a startled child? I'm fine, I called back as gruffly as I could manage, trying to sound heroic instead of terrified. I didn't need her distracted. Behind us and above us, another crisis was unfolding. Claire threw out a fresh volley of spark bolts, only for them to sputter and fizzle mid-flight, vanishing like cheap fireworks. My stomach dropped through my boots. Countercast. Sure enough, lurking just behind the remaining goblins, I spotted him. A gnarled, hunched figure wielding a staff wound with bones and cracked feathers. A goblin witch doctor. His coarse green beard and mane were braided with more bones, and a jagged shard pierced through his broad nose. His chant rose above guttural and thickening the air with the foul taste of bad magic. Their spell battle was already raging. Flashes of red and green light streaked overhead as Claire and the witch doctor hurled dismissals and counters at one another. But Claire was still low-ranked. I knew she couldn't hold out long. The ache in my leg pulsed hard, slowing me. And with 2 goblins pressing me already, I knew it was only a matter of time before one of them got lucky. Then I noticed another burned survivor, one of the goblins scorched earlier, creeping around my right flank. Perfect. Exactly what I needed. 3 on 1. I barely had the strength left to block the 2 already circling me. There was no way I'd survive 3. The green beast in front of me snarled, spittle flying from his mouth as his words flew at me as vicious as his blade.
We kill you soon. We cook you. Eat you while we breed your women.
I parried, replying automatically, "They're not my women." The one on my farthest left looked perplexed, halting his swing for just a moment.
You no like women?
His look held more curiosity than I liked. "No, of course I like women. I just mean these women," the other one interrupted, as he tried to create an opening for the injured one circling to my right.
He just no want these women.
"No, it's not that. I mean you. You're putting words in my mouth," I snapped, my anger momentarily giving me a boost of skill.
Who keep you alive? Put something else in your mouth.
Snickered the one to my farthest left who had began the questioning. "No, Hogue, don't keep me alive for that, man," I stammered with a grimace as my injury again throbbed. Peripherally, I could see Claire, not far behind me, pause in her spell battle to swing her staff. I had not even noticed that one had circled around the other side of Angel and was almost upon Shayla. Together with a few well-aimed staff swings, they managed to drop him. Was Shayla crying? My focus was drawn back to the two facing me and the one about to flank me. Across from us, I could see the witch doctor still lurked behind them all, untouched, weaving more curses into the fray. Things were not looking good. I was injured, bleeding, tired. We all had to be. It was my right leg that was injured, and it was killing me, and the new little goblin, a burned one with a cruel grin, was circling to my right. I'd have a disadvantage. I did my best not to cry out again, but a grunt still ripped out of me as one of the two goblins in front of me grazed my left arm with his blade, almost making me drop my dirk. Damn it, Hogue! Another injury, another opening. I countered with a hard downward slash from my other blade, my short sword tearing a ragged gash across his chest. Hogue squealed, staggering back, but didn't fall. It was looking bleak. My right leg throbbed fiercely, my grip was slipping, and for a heartbeat the world around me blurred, edges darkening. I stumbled, nearly dropping to one knee. I suddenly felt a wave of fear. I wasn't going to make it. How could this be happening? This was supposed to be a fun night. How was I going to die here, by goblins, in this accursed land, when just an hour ago I was safe at home, working on a character sheet, trying to impress a girl? We hope you enjoyed Girl Party Episode 1, Gobpocalypse, Part 1. You can find the song that goes along with this chapter, Gobpocalypse, on our YouTube page. All chapters and songs are available on the Manic Animation YouTube page, free. If you enjoy our content, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.